firefighter in the past and you're listening and you have some insights that you want to share in terms of what was done before now in terms of activities and how you go about in terms of fighting fire and rescues, and the list goes on and on. The lines are open and you're more than welcome to join the conversation. So where you want to continue from today?
Well, as I said, last week we had a very interesting caller in person of Mr. Coker. And as I said, calls like them I would welcome. I would like for, just as you said, for persons to call in, persons to tell us, help us out with what worked then for you, and any improvements that you can see in the fire department, and anything that you would like to see, be it possible. So just give us tips as to how to steer the fire department. Any suggestion is welcome, and I hope to hear from you. But until you call, we were speaking about the tools and equipment. I think that's where we left off last week. And yes, we were talking about the appliances that we have now as opposed to what we had then. And most of the tools we have now are somewhat modernized. However, you still need the working personnel to operate these tools. But I was saying, when I joined back then, we had what we call the breathing apparatus, the BA set. That was about maybe between 50 and 60 pounds on your back. You could get a nice 20-pound one now with visual display, one that you could actually be heard when you're talking in it, because back then you were limited once you're wearing that piece of equipment. So, and it carries the same amount of air, the compressed air in it, so you have the same 45 or the same 30 minutes worth of breathing air to operate on the inside, but just doing it in a much more comfortable condition. Back then, the only alarm they had on was if if the air was finishing. They give you maybe a 3 to 5 minutes warning. So it just, once you hear the warning, it's time to get out. You could actually, you can actually see the air level as it goes down. And as I think I would have said, if you are not moving for any period of time, like I think is about 20 seconds, once you stay still for that amount of time, figure something is wrong and sets off an alarm so that somebody could come and look for you. So we are modernizing the fire department in terms of tools and equipment, but at the same time you need the personnel to operate these equipment. And I'm sure the general public could agree with me when I say, regardless to what issues, what shortcomings the fire department may have, every time we are called upon, we come out and perform. And you may not know about all of the issues behind the scene, because you see us come in quick time once we are called, and we always get the job done. So,
Talk about that. Let me shift a bit, if you can permit me, as it relates to calls. The system before you had in place, is it the same thing now? I know I hear some people complain about the amount of questions being asked versus just going to the scene. Are you aware of the procedure as it relates to the dispatcher, and has that changed, or is it still the same?
well, I would say it's still the same, because some persons basically, I mean, it's hard to say, but you just need to slow down in times of an emergency. I could distinctly remember a call I got from a lady. The call was, I was at the guard desk. I took the call. It was, "Lord, bring the chuck, bring the chuck." I said, Lord, miss, I'm going to bring the truck as soon as you tell me where to bring it. You know, I understand that, you know, she emergency, she was being frantic, but the nice little humor in it calmed her down a bit, and
Okay.
she was able to, you know, pull herself together and, you know, tell me where we are supposed to be going. And from the time she called and she said, she was, Lord, bring the truck, my house a bun. I said, Miss, tell me where part to bring the truck. And she started telling me, you know, St. Peter. So then right away I knew that it was in my district at the time, the Bastia district. So even without getting all of the information, I pulled a bell. So while gathering the information, persons on their way down, getting ready to go. Because I like to be out of the yard within a minute and a half to 2 minutes. The actual time is 3 minutes. You shouldn't be out no later than 3.
Okay.
But anybody who worked with me on shift know that I look for a 2 minutes response or less.
So what's the purpose of taking the name of the person phone number? What's the rationale behind that?
For one, in some instances where, you know, they would have given an address, you may not find the actual location. It doesn't have to be a fire where you would see smoke or anything, but sometimes you just can't find the exact location, and you could ask somebody, well, okay, you know where this person live, you take the number so that someone on the truck could call back the person to get further information in case of difficulty. At the same time too, it's used for record keeping. Every call we get, you log the caller and the areas and so forth. So we have a system where you map out the fires based on parishes or different communities and so forth. And some are reoccurring calls, especially like if you have an activated alarm going off reoccurring at a business, then you ask that business place to have somebody come in and check out the system. If you're repeatedly going to ask somebody to stop burning, you're going to one property 3 and 4 times. It's government resources being thing, and you ask the police now to come in and help you with that thing, because you're using the government resource, you're using the water just because of your ignorance, if I may say, you just don't care about the persons around you. So records are logged, and if needs be, reports are carried forward.
Okay. All right. Can I ask another question? I know you're talking about tools,
Sure,
but
go ahead.
as it relates to planning, the fire department, are you a part of planning in terms of structure and building and having a say in terms of how a building and businesses should be laid out? Should they have a fire escape route or a passage incorporated in plan? Are these things compulsory? Are they a part of our planning process? And if so, are the fire department, or is the fire department a part of that procedure?
To answer that question correctly, I would say there is no legislation that mandates persons exactly to put X, Y, and Z in place as it relates to fire prevention. However, the recommendations are always made by planning, by the building board, but that is just for residentials. However, commercial buildings, they must have these things in place, and the fire department plays a very integral role in making sure that they are put in place. So when they reach to different stages of building, the fire department is always called in, and we do a walkthrough inspection along with planning and anybody else who is supposed to be a part of that to ensure that while that building is open to the public is safe while using that facility.
Now, how do you deal with small businesses? I am assuming the procedure is different.
Yes. For small businesses, most time they are renting a commercial space from somebody, and most of the time we just make sure they have the proper exits. If it's a kitchen, per se, you must have the specific type of extinguisher in place in an accessible area for that kitchen. And otherwise, if there is like a floor or anything, dining area, if it's an office space, you have the appropriate extinguisher for that. And the place cannot be too clustered, because at the same time you must have a proper evacuation route for any of the patrons or the staff who is present. So most of the time, once these things are in place, you won't have an issue.
And I'm assuming this is a part of the progress as well, in terms of things that was done before.
Yes.
And okay.
Because a simple thing put in place now by planning is any external door should be swung on the outside as opposed to inside. Because if something happen on the inside, persons rush into the door, and if the door ain't open yet, to get it pulled out. So that's one of the reasons why external door should be going outwards. While we on that, presently we are still working on the new Fire Service Act, and some of these things are placed inside of the Act to give the St. Kitts and Nevis Fire and Rescue Services the authority to mandate and also to ticket, to prosecute persons for not adhering to some of these some of the rules and regulations put in place. So that again is one of the forward movement for the fire service, because we are not only there to respond and try to safeguard and protect in the event of, but we try to prevent through our fire service prevention unit. And because of going out to the public, going out to different areas and seeing, reoccurring issues, that is why we try to have some of these things mandated. And interestingly, I was speaking to someone recently, who suggested trying to get it mandatory for persons to have at least one smoke detector.
Can you put on your headphone? Good morning, you're live.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
GQ.
Yes, good morning, ma'am.
Hodge,
Hi,
down
good
there.
morning.
Yeah, two things. In addition to what you're saying there, also in having these small businesses having certain equipment, the Labor Department has now also taken on that role, as far as I know, to insist and enforce that these business places have some of these things. I move on. I don't know what was discussed last week in relation to equipment and tools, but what my recommendation, I think, I know they are costly, yes, but I think at this point and time in the fire department, we should start looking at an aerial ladder truck or a ladder truck, because most of the buildings now are going up. There's not much land space to spread out, so most of the buildings are going up. And as pulling hose, and you know what happens with hose going up and that distance and that length, you're going to lose pressure and things like that. And in addition to that aerial truck, rescue truck or ladder truck, we should also look at with the scarcity of water, we should also look at the saltwater flotation pumps that we can use up more of the seawater, since that, we are very limited now on our freshwater source. That is my input for now.
All right, man.
All right, thank you, Carla, and those are very good suggestions. The the high-rise building, yes, you are so correct. There are lots of them going up. In the absence of the ladder truck, however, what is being put in place presently is that they have a fire suppression system where we can connect the appliance to the outside of the building instead of running all the way up with the hoses. You connect, there's a pre-connect on the building, the truck comes, you connect to that pre-connect, and the officers go up. Once they locate the fire, they use one of the hose wheel that is in close proximity to that fire. And that eliminates the running of the hose as well as the time it would take to deal with it. However, yes, the ladder truck is a very, very good suggestion. It is something that we spoke about. Along with the flotation device for the salt water, the flotation pump, in the absence of that as well, what we are trying to do is to get some water tankers, about 2 water tankers that would hold a good amount of water, more than the trucks would carry, because the trucks are big, but the tank is just a small portion of the truck, because the truck is designed to carry all the tools and equipment that we need. So getting a water tanker that holds maybe 3,000, 4,000 gallons, that would help us tremendously while responding to any scene. And it should be cheaper than actually getting a fire truck outfitted with tools and equipment, because you're just getting a truck with a water tank on it and a small pump to move the water, from that tank into the truck.
Okay.
So it's something that we were looking at, something talked about a lot. Mr. Williams, the chief, he's trying his best to see what he can procure for us to make things better moving forward in terms of firefighting.
Moving forward, training, has that been something always incorporated at the fire department?
Yes, training has always and is always ongoing. We have a number of young officers, and every situation you come into, it's a different one. There is always the saying, there are no two fires alike. So you can't say you do the same thing at every scene, but once you are trained and you have an idea of, okay, this is what would generally happen, you tweak it a bit to meet your situation at the time, and you should get the job well done. But training is an expensive venture. If we are talking about overseas training, what we have done over the years is officers would have gone out to train and come back as trainers. So we do have some officers attached to our department that are regional and international trainers, and we run our workshops here locally time to time with the guys them, and that's the venture we take right now to get them up to speed. Yes, overseas training for some is needed still, for experience. We are hoping to get officers off to Anguilla as soon as possible. I don't know exactly how soon that would be, but when that comes, it gives you a feeling of a live fire experience. Because persons to be here, we're going through the motion of training, you throw out the hose, you lay it and thing, but without the actual fire, it's a difference.
And you're making reference to training for the new appliance, right?
Well, training in general,
okay.
but that's for airport training. And at this time, I would like to recognize Mr. Tito Razman, who is the sergeant at the airport. I think he would have done about 4 or 5 live fire drills already for the year.
Wow.
Where you try to get some pallets and tires, and so you pile them in an area and have the guys go out. It's the it's the cheapest way to get the heat because dealing with that type of fuel, aircraft fuel, and the kind of heat and fire you would get from it, you need to do something that would come as close as possible to it. So, you know, Mr. Tito Rasman, you're doing a great job in terms of that, keeping the guys on the P's and Q's and getting them trained and up to par. So I recognize you on that.
Let's go back to the phone line and let's take this call. Good morning, you're live.
Hello, JQ. Good morning, guys.
Hey, good
How
morning.
are you?
I'm great.
I'm calling from New York. Ask the sergeant if they ever had a chance to train with New York City Fire Department.
All right, good morning, caller. And I can't say whether or not training would have been done with New York. I know we would have been doing training in the past with Trinidad or with Canada. The Anguilla training is
New York is the creme de la creme. That's what they said. You know, their training is hard. 6 months of gruel training to become a fireman in New York City. It's not easy.
I hear, man. Well, thanks for sharing that, Sonny Boy.
Huh?
Thanks for sharing.
Yeah, it's not easy, Jiku. It's hard, man. I've seen them train on video. It's not easy.
I hear, bro.
They might have like 200 firemen start the class and less than 100 graduate. It's gruesome. It's not easy.
Yeah.
All right, my friend Jiku, and
right.
I'm still enjoying the show.
All right, thanks,
and tell
man.
Commissioner Rommel to say hello. Tell him, Sonny Boy, say hello. Commissioner Rommel.
All right, Sonny Boy, we'll pass on the info, but I'm sure he's listening.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
All right, man.
All right, let's take this next call. Good morning, you're live.
Hey, morning, Jicky, buddy.
Hey, good morning, Bucky.
Hey, man, I really want to call to big up the fire and rescue team. I was actually live at a scene there by Sandon Road where a love accident, you know. And,
Wait. This morning, right now?
No. The last one, it was, I think, about a week ago. Yeah, and, you know, the fire and rescue team came and I was able to get the two gentlemen out of the vehicle. You know, and trust me, they did a great job. They have a machine, right, GQ, that they just cut the car like paper, you know. But what I would like to know, like, what kind of training they have in, like, you know, CPR or any other medical training to assist the EMS. The reason why I ask, because I can foresee, because, trust me, it's real. Accidents are happening more dangerous in things. A lot of cars are being flipping over, whether on the back on the side, you know, which calls for the assistance of the fire and rescue. So I'm wondering, you know, what level of training they have to assist EMS, because sometimes you find they might have lots of persons and EMS might be limited, right? And I know their job is fire and rescue, right? So I would like to know that. And the other thing, I'm just saying, because this is how I'm looking at it. I see there's a reduction in fire this year and an increase in accident. You know, it seems as though since we had the eclipse, we have changed the weather pattern. So even though it's hot every now and then, we are now having rain, like we had some rain just a while ago, this morning. You know, so it seems as though they don't have the increase in going to out wildfire than last year. If they could correct me if I'm wrong. And how do they feel about that? You know, are they still preparing? Just in case, I think there was a fire recently over at the landfill area. I know they went over there. I'm not sure how they was able to contain that. And maybe if it's not in their field, they could still assist person in maybe sorting their garbage, because whenever that landfill burn, it's a serious burn because it's a landfill and the fire burn and go down. So maybe that can kind of give a little education of if there's a fire at landfill, how long it takes and the difficulty, you know, to get it out.
All right, before you go, just make sure we got everything. So you wanted to take a look at, give us some insights with how did he would fire at landfill?
Landfill, yes.
What's the other one?
And the other one is, what experience they have or what level of training they have to assist EMS when it comes to traffic accidents.
All right.
All right, Bucky. Thank you for your questions. And yes, you are correct. The fire season has been a slow one for us, and we are grateful for that. However, I could say that there were 4 calls yesterday throughout all districts. Bastia would have responded to 3 calls, one in the Bastia area, one in St. Peter's, one in Stonefort. And the Sandy Point unit would have responded to one in St. Paul's. Now, these calls, as you would have said, they are not at the magnitude of what we would have been getting for the season. And I think it's because of the greediness of some of the grass. But, we would still like to encourage persons to stop lighting the fires because they are getting away still. So, yes. We spoke about you earlier asked about the landfill, how we deal with the landfill fires. Some are easily put out, but the landfill fires are mainly underground fires based on the chemical breakdown of the garbage. Sometimes they become a light. So if it's not too far underground, soaking the area would put it out. Most times what have to happen though is we need to get in an excavator to erode the ground so that we can actually get to the fire, or to get a bucket to put more dirt on it so that it can stifle it under there. It's either or. And we work hand in hand with whichever way it is. Well, if the fire breaks the surface, then we are there to cool it while the excavator continues its operation. So that's the technique we use. And the topic was about the tools and equipment.
Before you answer that one, the EMS training, do you have any experience to assist?
Yes. Some officers are trained along with the EMS personnel. So you call it the EMR training. There were, I think it's 2 batches would have done EMR training last year, and presently there are about 9-10 officers presently doing an EMR training. So yes, we are keeping up to scratch in dealing with the medical emergencies. Yes, so I think that answers that question. And now I was saying back to
the tools
and equipment. We were talking about the moving from then to now. What Mr. Bucky was speaking about is what we call the jaws of life. Back then we had this heavy piece of equipment where after you hold it up for 2 minutes, boy, you feel like you're buckled down. But we have a much lighter tool now with the same amount of cutting power. That is the reason it could cut through vehicles like that.
Wow.
Yes, I see we are out of time for this week.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
But I want to thank our callers and our viewers for being a part of the program this morning. We'll be back next week to continue more insights as it relates to the St. Kitts and Nevis Fire Rescue Services here. Mr. Hodge, thank you for being this morning.
All right, and thank you to the callers as well. It has been a pleasure. See you again next week.
We'll be back right after this, man. It's The Morning Show.
Are you tired of Wi-Fi dead zones in your home? The Cable has the ultimate solution with our whole home Wi-Fi coverage. Say goodbye to frustrating signal drops and hello to seamless connectivity in every corner of your home. No more